Hey there, developers. When it comes to building decentralized applications, Ethereum has long been the top choice thanks to its immense popularity. However, it's not without its challenges. Ethereum faces scalability issues, leading to bottlenecks in transaction processing time and high gas fees. If you're not familiar with this, then imagine a Starbucks outlet that just opened nearby to your home. It's the go-to spot for all your caffeine needs, but the only problem is that they can only serve one customer at a time. As the outlet becomes famous, more people will start showing up. However, since they can only handle one customer at a time, a long line forms outside the shop. People end up waiting longer to get their chai latte. This is similar to Ethereum's scalability issue. As more people use it for transactions, the network becomes congested, leading to longer processing times for each transaction. This is where layer 2 solutions step in to save the day. Think of them like a third party company that steps in to enhance the efficiency of our hypothetical Starbucks outlet. They specialize in streamlining transactions, whisking them away from the congested main network and processing them with lightning speed. With this third party company on the scene, our customers at the Starbucks can enjoy their chai latte without hassle of long waits. Today, we'll be deep diving into one such scaling solution that has been specifically crafted to boost Ethereum's rollups performance, the Fuel Network. I'm Boni from Metaschool, and we're going to be taking a deep dive into the Fuel Network. And not only that, we'll also be learning how to create and deploy our first contract on the Fuel Network. If you find value in this video and appreciate what we're doing, hitting the subscribe button is like mining a valuable block of support for our channel. So let's dive in together and get started. This video will be broken down in two parts. First, we'll quickly cover what is Fuel, how it works, and what sets it apart from the other layer 2 scaling solutions out there. And then we'll move on to writing up a very smart contract where we'll be setting up a development environment, writing up a smart contract, creating a wallet, deploying the contract. Let's start with the very first agenda where we'll just quickly go in and address what Fuel is, right? So Fuel is an operating system purpose-built for Ethereum rollups. As of now, Fuel is in this phase of development. It's live on its Beta-5 testnet, and this is kind of the crucial stage where the technology is being fine-tuned and rigorously tested to ensure reliability, scalability, and security for its users. For those interested in blockchain technology and its future, this is a moment ripe with opportunity. The mainnet launch of Fuel is slated for the third quarter of 2024, and this will mark a significant milestone where the platform will transition from a testing phase to a real-world application. Now, Fuel is a game-changing layer 2 solution with three key parts. The very first one is the Fuel virtual machine, the Fuel VM. This is the core of Fuel. It's fast because it does many things at once. Parallel transaction execution is one of the main selling points of the Fuel network. Another thing is that it also comes across with low data usage, which helps with growth, and it can be easily modified to work with different applications. The Fuel VM allows rollups to solve for PSI without making any sacrifices. PSI stands for performance, sustainability, and interoperability. When it comes to performance, if we compare the Fuel VM to the Ethereum VMs, which are chained to legacy support, the Fuel VM basically breaks free of all of these shackles and introduces features like parallel transaction execution, basically making the entire process way more super efficient and enhancing the speed and efficiency dramatically. When it comes to sustainability, the state minimization, which is done by introducing efficient data structures, pruning unnecessary data, and optimizing the way data is stored, Fuel is able to reduce the amount of data that needs to be stored and processed. Fuel is also designed with interoperability in mind, allowing for seamless communication and value transfer between blockchain networks. All of these are pretty much justified with the staggering transactions per second that the Fuel VM is able to go in and pull off, as compared to the Ethereum virtual machine. Now, basically moving on, the second parameter, the second selling point of Fuel, which makes it a really viable option, is its domain-specific language called Sway. Sway is a flexible programming language designed for blockchain environments. It's safe and efficient as Rust, especially for creating smart contracts. It kind of like takes the best bit of from various languages without being limited to a singular set of tools. You could kind of say that Sway is nothing but a combination of Rust and Solidity. The third component is the tooling and SDK, which is provided by Fuel. This is part of what makes Sway so powerful because you get access to this fantastic suite of developer tools surrounding it. The Fuel development environment retains benefits of smart contract languages like Solidity while adopting paradigms introduced in the Rust tooling ecosystem. Honorable mentions will be the Fuel Orchestrator, also called Fork, which provides a variety of tools and commands for developers working with the Fuel ecosystem. And we also have FuelUp, which is the official package manager for Fuel that basically installs the Fuel toolchain from the official release channels. It's similar to RustUp. In essence, Fuel turbocharges the blockchain technology. It's not about just doing things faster. It's about doing them smarter and handling complex operations with ease. In the fast evolving blockchain universe, Fuel is positioning itself as a go-to solution for modular blockchain execution layers ready to meet the demands of tomorrow. Fuel is not just a platform, it's revolution in how we use the blockchain technology. Up next, let's get our hands dirty as we dive into creating our very first smart contract on the Fuel network. Alright, so before we go in and write up a smart contract, let's quickly ideate on what our smart contract should do. So as it's our very first smart contract, we'll be keeping it simple and building a counter application using the Sway programming language so that we can go in and further deploy our smart contract in the Fuel blockchain. Now, if you guys want documentation to the setup process, you can go in and take up our free learning track here at Metaschool. You can head on to our website over here, head on to learn, and there is a free learning track that you could go and take up so that you're not just going to go in and build some counter application, but some really good portfolio worthy projects over here. We have a petition filing dApp and even an Airbnb dApp that you can go in and build all by your own. These are some really good projects that can actually go in and help you to make up a really good portfolio revolving around the Fuel blockchain. Now, all of these courses are completely free of charges, but apart from that, you're also going to be getting in a rare NFT, a bunch of XP that you can go in and use within the Metaschool platform, and also you have going to be getting access to our Discord channel as well, where we can help you to go in and address any queries that you may go in and come across. So I'll be utilizing the very first course over here so that I can set up the development environment. If you go through any of these courses, there's complete documentation on introduction to Sway, the basics of the Sway programming language, which we are going to be using in for writing our smart contract as well, which I really suggest that you should go in and give a read through. If you're already familiar with Rust, Sway will, getting used to Sway will not be much of a problem altogether because it does go in and have somewhat of similarity with that of Rust. Okay, so I'm going to directly move on to setting up the development environment. Now, depending on which operating system you're in, you can go in and install all the prerequisites accordingly. If you're on Mac, you could go in and do the same. If you're on Windows or on Linux, all the instructions are given here thoroughly. In my case, I generally do all development within the Windows subsystem for Linux. So I'm going to just quickly go in and get access into my Windows subsystem for Linux. If you are not familiar with how to go in and use Windows subsystem for Linux, it's quite easy to set up. You just need to run a single command, which is wsl-install. We've already covered this in one of our previous videos where we are creating or where we are writing our first smart contract on Sway. So I'd say that if you want to set up WSL, I kind of explained it in short in that particular video. So here I have went in and opened up my Windows subsystem. So I'm currently on Ubuntu. There you go. So I'm just going to quickly run neofetch over here. So this is the Ubuntu subsystem within my Windows machine. So this is where I'll be going in and doing all the development that we're going to be requiring for our smart contract, right? So the very first thing to do, as a rule of thumb, being that if you are working with Linux, you should always update your system. I'm going to just quickly copy this particular code and we're going to run sudo apt update. Apt is just the package manager for Ubuntu. So I'm just going to quickly run this command here. It will ask you for your password, which you'll be setting up during the very first initialization. You enter up your password, it'll check for any updates or so. And in my case, there is nothing as such. Okay. Now, what we have is we have a bunch of tools that needs to be installed. We have curl and git, which will be used to go in and fetch a bunch of libraries and binaries as well. We have libssl for OpenSSL connections, clang, which is a compiler for C, C++. We have libpq, which is basically the PostgreSQL binaries, right? And then we have the build essentials as well. So basically, you will have to go in and install all of them one after another. In my case, what I'd rather do is let's just install all of them together. You can just write sudo apt install and then just specify all of the packages that you wish to install. I'll drop this particular command in the comment section down below in case any one of you needs it. So let's just quickly run it. Depending on your speed, it'll be quickly updating in or installing all of these packages that you've mentioned. In my case, all of them are updated, so we can go in and follow along. Okay. Now, the next thing that we need is to install Rust. All right. As you can see in here as well, the Fuel blockchain over here is built on top of the Rust programming language. So what we're going to do is quickly install Rust. Now, this is going to be done using the curl tool that we just went in and we installed. So I'm going to open up my terminal and run this particular command. It will take in some amount of time because depending on your internet speed and your system, the installation and the downloading part will, the amount of time will go in and vary. So it will first and foremost ask you to go in. It'll give you three options here. Proceed with the standard installation and go on. So I'll just click on the default one, so just press enter. It'll go in and in my case it's already installed and updated, so it need not go in and do much. But in our case, as you can see, Rust is already installed as in such, so we are all good to go. Just to go in and quickly check if everything is working in as such, let's just quickly check the version of Rust up. There we go. So if you can go in and run this particular command, which is rustup hyphen version. This just goes in and checks the version of the rustup toolchain manager, which has been installed within your system. All right. So Rust has been successfully configured within our subsystem. So we can go in and finally install the Fuel toolchain. Now, in the very beginning, I did say that the Fuel network does have really good developer tools, and one of these tools is called FuelUp, which is the official toolchain manager, similar to RustUp, but it's for Fuel, right? So we're going to be going in and installing. So the command for same. So install the Fuel toolchain. You need to install the Fuel init script. So there's a script which is already hosted out at this particular URL. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to just copy this command, open up a terminal and run it here again. This will go in and install all of the libraries and dependencies for us. It'll ask you to, it'll go in and ask you, would you like FuelUp init to modify your path variable for you? Always go in and say yes. We're going to go in and do so. Now here again, it's going to go in and take some time depending on internet speed. In my case, it's already installed and updated. So it need not go in and do anything much over here, right? So as we're done, let's just quickly check whether we have everything is up or not. So I'm going to run the command which is FuelUp hyphen version. This again is going to go in and give us the version of the FuelUp tool chain that we have currently installed within our subsystem. Okay, so we are almost done to this point. So there's a few more things that we need to do. Now, I did go in and mention in the previous part that Fuel is currently in testnet, which is the Beta-5 testnet. So what we're going to do quickly is make sure that we are working on the latest testnet that is deployed in by Fuel. So the way to go in and do so is quite easy. The very first thing we'll do before that is to just make sure our tool chain is up to date. So we can run the command which is fuel up self update. There you go. I'm going to paste the command here. It'll go in and check for any updates as in such, and if it's so, it'll go in and update the same. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be installing the Beta-5 toolchain. This is the latest testnet for Fuel to this very day. The mainnet will be launching soon enough within the third quarter of 2023, within a few months altogether, right? So let's just quickly go in and install Beta-5. There we go. The fuel tool chain is installed and up to date. Now we'll set Beta-5 as our default tool chain. There we go. Once we're done with that, we are all set, right? That's basically all we had to do. Last, you could go in and view the list of tool chains and versions of tools that you're using. This just to go in and check if everything that we've done is correct to this point or not. So there you go. So you have the Fuel orchestrator. As I said, again, this is a really good set of tools and libraries that can help us to go in and create applications using the Fuel network. We have, we are also gonna go in and see all the versions of the dependencies that have been installed within our system. Okay. So there we go. So this is basically the part where we have to go in and set up the development environment. Now all that is left for us to go in and do is to go in and write up our code. Let's open up VS Code within our subsystem. Technically, it's not within the subsystem, but my VS Code is running native in Windows, but it is able to go in and access the Windows subsystem over here, which you can clearly see within the terminal over here that we are inside, or we have access to Bash here right now. Okay, so what I'm going to quickly do is let's just create up a folder here. I'm not sure where I'm doing it, but okay, fine. It's inside of a folder called Bones. Okay, so it's in the user directory. Let's call it Fuel project. I'm going to create up an empty folder here where we'll be going in and creating up our smart contract within this. So I'll open up that folder so that things would stay a bit more organized. All right, so let's search for first smart contract. Where did it go? There we go. Okay, Fuel project. Okay, so I'll just go for Fuel project over here. I'm going to click on OK. So now we are within that particular folder. There we go. Now now comes the part. So now what we want to do is we have to first and foremost go in and create a Fuel project. This can be quite easily went in and done using the Fuel orchestrator. So I'm going to write fork new, and then you can give it a name. I'll just call it first contract. Right. So I'm going to press enter. It's going to go in and show you this particular thing to compile, use for build, blah, blah, blah. We're going to go in and do this later after we write our smart contract. You just quickly refresh it over here, and there you go. So you can see a new folder went in and got created. So this is our Fuel project, and we've named it as first contract. Within this particular folder, you'll be able to go in and notice two important things. The first thing is the folder called as source. This folder is going to contain the file called as main.sw, which is our sway file. Here we're going to be going in. So this is the file where our smart contract is going to be went in and written. And then again, we have the fork.toml file. So again, this is a manifest file. It is similar to the cargo.toml file, and it defines the metadata for a project, like the project name, the dependencies and whatnot. Okay, so far we don't have any dependencies yet, but as we are creating a really simple project, we need not go in and need any as such. So one thing I would suggest that before we go in and we write up our smart contract here is that you can go in and install the extension for Sway. So this is the official VS Code extension from Fuel Labs themselves. So you'll be getting some syntax highlighting and additional documentation over here. As you can see, kind of makes the whole process of writing smart contract a bit more bearable here. Okay, so you will be able to go in and easily read through the entire smart contract. Now, coming down to writing up our smart contract, let me just quickly remove all of this, and we're going to be starting this from scratch. Okay, so in order to go in and start writing our very first smart contract using Sway, the first thing that we need to go in and do is specify the type of the Sway program, right? So we have this file called as main.sw, right? The Sway file that we have, but it can be of different types. It could be either a contract, it could be a script, it could be a predicate. There are a bunch of examples altogether. So what we're going to do in here is that as we're creating a contract, we start with this particular keyword, which is contract, so that we can specify that, okay, so this particular Sway file is representing a contract. And then in order to go in and create up our smart contract, we have to go in and create its interface first, the application binary interface, right? So this is basically done using the ABI block over here. As you can see, we are creating an ABI called as counter, and within which we are providing the declarations of two functions over here, right? So there are two functions. The first function is called increment and the second one is called get. The hash storage read write is and the hash storage read that you see over here. These basically indicate how the functions are going to be interacting with the contract that we have, right? So the increment function is going to be able to perform both read and write, whereas the get function is only going to be capable of performing the read operation over here. All right. Now, once this is done, we're going to be needing some storage because, okay, we're creating a counter, so we need to store the data somewhere. And this can be easily done using the contract storage, and this is quite easily done. We can just go in and create a storage block over here, and we're specifying a variable type here called as counter, and we're also specifying its data type as unsigned integer 64. So then again, we are also initializing it with a value which is 0. Okay, so it's a counter, so initial value is definitely going to be 0. Now that we have an interface, okay, so we have an interface. Now comes the part, because see, the interface kind of only has the declarations of these functions. Now we need to go in and give definition to those functions, right? So the way to go in and do so is quite easy. What we're going to do is we're going to be going in and implementing this particular interface, and the way to go in and do so is quite straightforward. We are going to go in and say implement counter for contract, and within which we will be going in and providing definition to both of the functions that we have declared altogether within the interface. Now, this particular contract requires you to know a bit of Sway. Like it is pretty important that you're completely familiar with the syntaxes of how to write out particular contracts or scripts using Sway. So one of the things I'd suggest is to go through the documentation that we had seen in earlier. You can, again, as I remind you again, you can go in and visit our learning track. You have an entire documentation for Sway along with suitable examples and code snippets that you can look at. And it takes a bit of time to go in and get used to Sway. It's just another programming language. If you're familiar with one programming language, similarly, you can go in and wrap your head around this one as well. If you're familiar with Solidity, learning Sway is not going to be that big of a problem for you. It's going to take some time, but if you persevere, it is worth the effort that you put into it. All right. So moving on forward, we have to go in and provide declaration to both of these functions that we have. So the first declaration that we're going to be giving is for the increment function. What this function does is that it goes in and returns as an unsigned integer value. The idea is fairly simple. It reads the value of the current counter and increments it by a particular amount, and then returns back the incremented value. Okay. And the next function that we need is this function called as get, which again returns an unsigned integer, and it basically just requires you to go in and use the read function so as to fetch the value of the counter that we had already created. So that is it. This is all that we're going to be needing in to go in and create our really simple smart contract. There isn't much in the smart contract because this is just so that you would kind of get familiar with the entire process of setting up a development environment and writing up a really simple contract using Sway. If you wish to go in and play around with Sway a bit more, one thing I would suggest is visiting the Sway playground. I'll be leaving the links to that in the description down below as well. It's a pretty good website where you can go in and write code in Sway without having to worry about going in and setting up an entire project as in such. You can directly write down your contract, you can test them, you can deploy them there and there itself. It's a pretty good tool to go in and learn. But as we are kind of learning and how to go in and deploy the entire thing from scratch, this is kind of the process that we need to go for. Okay, now that we're done, we can actually now go in and move across to the very next step, which is where we'll be going in and creating a wallet and adding testnet tokens into it. Okay, so this particular process is going to be quite fairly simple. If you want to go in and create up a wallet, it can be quite easily done using your command line here, right? So what we're going to do first and foremost is to initialize up a wallet here. So you can go in and do so quite easily. You can run the command fork wallet new, right? So I already had a wallet set up, so it's asking me whether I want to replace the pre-existing wallet. Let's just replace it. I'm gonna press Y, and it'll ask you for a password. You're gonna be needing the same password later up ahead as well. So let's just give it a password here and enter it once again. And at this particular point, you're going to get this 24-word key phrase, which will help us to go in and set up a wallet and basically add some testnet tokens onto it. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to go in and do is, okay, let me just quickly copy the 24-word key phrase and paste it down somewhere so that I can use it later up ahead for setting up the wallet and adding some testnet tokens again. And there we go. Okay, so what we're going to do is create up an account now. This again is quite easy. So we'll run fork wallet account new. There we go. Now you need to enter the same password which you would have given in before. I'm going to enter the password that I had given, and there we go. We have our wallet address showing up here as well. Okay, now if you have multiple accounts, you can go in and view them by using the command fork wallet accounts. There you go. So I'm gonna go in and enter the password, and the same wallet goes in, the same account that we have goes in and shows up here again. Okay, now for adding in the testnet tokens, you need not do much. You can head on to Chrome store. The Brave works as well. Both of them are Chromium based browsers, so you can go in and install this particular extension from Fuel. Once you install this particular extension, you click on the extension icon, and there'll be two options within the website that's going to open up. I'm going to click on import seed phrase. This is the same part where the 24-word seed phrase that we went in and we got is going to be coming in handy. All right, so I'm going to just go in and copy mine. Let's just change this to a 24-word seed phrase. Let's copy up my seed phrase. I'm going to paste it down over here. Makes this whole process quite easier. And now let's just enter up a password. Now the password needs to be pretty strong so that it would let you to go in and finish the setup. So please ensure that you are using at least some special symbols and some digits and uppercase and lowercase all into together. All right, so I'm going to just add in a really good password. Let's click on finish setup, and this should go in and import a wallet so that we can now go in and add some testnet tokens into it. And there you go. So our wallet has currently been set up. Now, as it's a new wallet, we'll have to go in and add some balance into it, right? So currently there is nothing as in such. So what we're going to do is we can just quickly copy the address from here, and we're going to be going into the Beta-5 faucet. I'll be leaving the link to this particular website again in the description down below. You will go in and paste the wallet address here. Click on the captcha. It's going to go in and ask you to verify the captcha first and foremost. Let me just quickly go in and get this done. Now once you fill in the captcha, you can just click on give me test ether. It's going to take in a second or two. and there you go. So within a few more seconds, the balance would now go in and reflect within our fuel wallet, as you can see. So we are like almost to this point that we have a wallet that we can go in and use, so that we'll be able to go in and deploy our smart contract onto the fuel network. So let me just quickly jump back into my browser here. I can just clear this, and this is the part where we're going to be going in and deploying our smart contract. So the first thing to do is to build a smart contract. So I'm going to write fork build. There we go. So wait a second. So I think we are in the wrong particular folder. Yeah. So right now we are in fuel project. So let's just go into first contract and now run the same command back again. There you go. It's compiling the libraries and everything. It'll take in a minute or so, and we are done. Okay. Now comes the part where we're going to go in and deploy our smart contract into the testnet. So you can run the command which is fork. Let me clear the whole thing so that it's visible for you. There you go. So we're going to go in and run the command which is fork. Oh, let's do a clear again. There you go. So fork deploy testnet. Right. There you go. And run this. It's going to take in a few more minutes, and our smart contract is going to go in and get deployed. There you go. Now it's going to go in and ask you for the password of the encrypted wallet, which again I'm going to go in and provide here. There we go. And it's going to ask you to provide the index of the account used for signing. Let me close this here. There you go. We only have a single account, because if you have multiple accounts, you can go in and specify from which particular account are you supposed to go in and use the tokens from. So I'm going to say I only have a single account, so let's go with 0. Sign the transaction. Yes, we definitely will have to. So I'm going to go with Y, and let's just wait until it goes in and gets deployed, and we are good to go. As you can see, our first contract has now been successfully deployed. This is the network, the contract ID, and they deployed in this particular block. All right. Finally, just to go in and verify whether our smart contract is up there within the network, all you'll need to do is just copy up the contract ID, go to the Fuel Explorer, and you can just paste in your contract ID over here and give it a quick search, and there you go. Our smart contract is up and running within the Fuel network. So that's it for today, guys. We just navigated the whole process of creating a smart contract on the Fuel network. I hope this has fueled your interest in the upcoming Fuel OS. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, I can't wait to share more blockchain adventures with you. Stay curious and keep exploring. You're all gonna make it.